Hey, everybody, welcome into this room again. This is a special room. And I don't think it was special because of the actual room itself. It's special because what happens in here. I tell everybody in the green room before they come in that I have three agendas for them. And that is I want them to feel loved and accepted. I want them to feel listened to and heard. And I want them to feel acknowledged and validated. If you find me doing anything else here, you'll know that I'm off point. Because that's really all I want to do. I want to give people the space to say who they are, to be who they are, to show up as who they are, and to allow you to get to meet a stranger along with me. Because part of what happens in this world is we think, like I grew up, my mom told me, don't talk to strangers. And it's amazing how that story gets infiltrated into our lives. We think strangers are strangers and we can't talk to them. But I found after hundreds and hundreds of conversations with people that are strangers that I never even knew existed 10 minutes ago, there's so much we share in common. There's so much that we are united around, that it makes the world a completely different place when we understand that we're not as strange as we think we are. We're not as different as we think we are. We're not as out there as we think we are, because we're all out there together. Mm-hmm. I'm honored to have the book over my left shoulder sponsoring the show. And there's good reason for it, because when I finished the book which is a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day and asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. And he sets out in search of the place called heaven. But the people he meets are not the spiritual teachers and the counselors and the shamans and the Aborigines elders. They're common, ordinary people. They're the homeless guy and the street worker, the blind woman and the gardener, the juice man and the waitress. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people of all people to show me heaven? And what he realizes is that every time he sits with them and speaks with them, what happens is the person he thought they were disappears and who they are emerges. And in fact, that's what happens in this room every single time. When people come in, anytime I have a preconceived notion of who I think they are, it vanishes within moments. Mm-hmm. And who they are emerges. And it's just such a beautiful thing to watch all that the person isn't fall away, and to see all the person is emerge. I thank my sponsor and I say goodbye to you now. Thank you, sponsor. We have in this room with us Jannelle Gordon. Jannelle, welcome to the conversation. How are you today? What's going on?
I'm super outstanding. I'm just loving life here. Newport Beach, California, post the fires, and my lungs have cleared a little bit. I'm feeling better, and my son's in the other room, so if he comes out, just you'll know. But I did tell him to put clothes on because he has done that one time. Yeah, so all things are amazing.
So hopefully he's not 28 or 29. No, I'm teasing you. No, I'm teasing you.
He's fine.
Okay, no worries. However he comes. How are you?
I'm amazing, but I'm also I'm juggling and balancing a lot of stuff at the moment. So it's all good things, but I just feel, I feel excited, but I also feel like, it's interesting. I just had my astrology read right before this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My Tantra astrologer live in my group, but I feel excited for everything, but I also am feeling like that need to really, this is what came up, like nurture myself. And I'm also feeling kind of heavy. Like there's a lot of, when you do the work I do, you kind of take on the karma of other people. And my teachers always used to tell me that, and I never understood it. And now I understand it and I feel it. And with the full moon and everything last night, it was like, I just feel this pain, in my soul. And it's like, keeps me up at night and I cry. And some of it's probably mine too, but I think it's everything.
Yeah.
So I'm an empath too.
Yeah, I feel that. And so I want, again, the listener to just realize we've been talking about 3 minutes, maybe not even, and look at the level of honesty and the level of vulnerability and the level of being just right here with me, Jannelle shows. And it's probably not what we think happens with strangers that quickly. We would think they need to get to know us and they need to trust us and they need to do all this stuff. But I watch in this room how people just open up, and I want to demystify that myth that it takes a long time to get to know somebody. It really doesn't. When you just hold the space to love them and give them the space to do that. You referenced what you do, but you didn't tell us what you do. Why don't you take a minute and tell us what you do, because you made reference to the fact that you feel people so much and feel their pains and stuff. So what do you do?
So I'm an intimacy tantra coach, which means I help people to really shake the shame attached to their sexuality, to create a new empowering belief they're in, to create more intimacy in their lives and give them tools to live the outstanding orgasmic life. And I do that through one-on-one coaching sessions, group sessions, through masterminds, through online courses, and my favorite in-person international retreats. And we're just actually coming off of one that we did during COVID, believe it or not. We actually got people to come to a retreat in Mexico to touch themselves, touch other people, like, you know, clothing on and everything. And we have another one at the end of January. So I feel super empowered by the fact that I can just slash all that fear and all that and really get people to be open, vulnerable, raw and real, and connect in a way with themselves that they've never connected before, and at that same level connect with other people.
So what do you think about you allows people to do that? Because we're looking at a world that's in fear of even going out of their houses, right?
Well, I think, it's absolutely that. I don't know if I can swear on here, but it's crazy.
You can do anything you want. It's just your time to be yourself.
And I bought into that fear in the beginning because I was looking up to people that were my leaders that were freaking out. And I'm like, you guys are supposed to be holding space for me. And now I'm freaking out because everyone's looking to me. But then I got over that quick. I was like, no effing way. I live my life in fear and I'm not doing it. And ever since then, I'm not afraid. But so what allows me to be able to do that with people is that I have experienced probably not every, but most types of sexual, physical, emotional pain, trauma, abuse, exploitation known to man. So I was a product of the foster system from the time I was born into this world as a product of rape. Got adopted, well, not adopted, but placed into an extremist fundamental Christian cult. Ran away from that, went into the army, was discharged one day before I could get benefits because of a condition with my back, couldn't walk. Got picked up by my first trafficker when I was 20, and then, or 19, and then I was trafficked for over a decade in the $150 billion global industry of human trafficking.
Wow.
And I've just been out about 6 years and have created a life for myself. And my son was actually homeless here in Newport Beach 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. And so now I'm here to show people that it doesn't matter your pain, your trauma, whatever it is, you can be prosperous and you can be, you know, a thriver. You don't have to be attached to your pain, to your story. And most of the pains and stories that people have are around sex and sexuality and being molested. And most people haven't been trafficked. I mean, I don't know, maybe you've had other women on here that have been, but I doubt. I probably am your first or second guest on here that have had that. But most of your viewers and or your guests have experienced some kind of sexual shame in regards to their sexuality, whether it's being touched by an uncle, a parent, being raped, being molested, being a something, right? And so I think the fact that mine is so overtly extreme, and I have come out on the other side, not unscathed, but empowered and still healing, that people are like, wow, that's impressive. Not impressive, but like, man, there's
no, it is impressive. It's absolutely impressive.
Yeah.
First of all, again, thank you so much for sharing yourself so real and authentic. I'm interested in these transitional moments.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that moment where you transitioned out of being trafficked,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
what it took to be able to do that, and what it still takes in your mind to be able to do that. Because how many ever years you had, which sounded like a lot of years, you said it, but I was still caught in
Yeah.
the like the awe of all that's
I can
happened to
agree
you,
with that.
right? That that doesn't just go away from a moment to moment decision, but it can, but it normally doesn't.
Yeah.
What happened for you that allowed you to get out of that situation?
Well, it wasn't just one moment, it was many moments. And they still are, and you're absolutely correct. There are many moments of still adjusting my mindset, adjusting my body, adjusting how I view myself, how I perceive myself, other people perceiving me. So it's and I get emotional because I'm preparing for a TED talk. I actually have, well, TEDx, but I have 3 of them coming in the next year, and they were pushed back from because of COVID.
Yeah,
But one December 19th, which is approaching quite quickly. And every time I rehearse my talk, it like takes me back. So that's probably part of the unrest, because I actually thought I had come so far in my healing, but reliving this damn story, or not all of it, but parts of it, and telling it with emotion because I do want to connect,
yeah,
has been quite challenging. But so to answer your question, that first moment is actually kind of a part of my opening TED scene. But it was just, it was a moment of so much pain and so much like, I can't take this anymore. I can't lie to myself anymore. Because that's really what I was doing. I was lying to myself because I knew that it wasn't right, but I didn't know how to get out of it.
yeah,
I was so far in. And just someone, kind of like yourself, asked me the right question at the right time. It was the right amount of leverage. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. He supports
yeah,
my work and actually kind of saved my life about 5 years ago when I was postpartum with my baby and trying to figure out how to go from product to person, and invested a lot of energy and time in me. But it's the right amount of leverage to kind of get you out of a pattern. And sometimes in order to break a cycle of a pattern, someone else has to intervene. That's actually
yeah,
from my TED talk. So
yeah.
I'm rehearsing right now.
Good
So
for you.
that was what happened. I was, sitting in a club in Seamless in Las Vegas, and I was just recovering from a crazy beating that had taken place in Gladys Knight's neighborhood, like 3:30 in the morning. The cops were called. I was basically left for dead out on the porch, and he took my keys to my Range Rover, which I wouldn't have been able to drive anyway. But he threw my phone out, and I couldn't dial 911 that night because I'd had a concussions. I've actually had so many more, probably more concussions than most NFL players, but or about the same. But so it was just that moment of clarity for me when I was like, I can't go through that again. I didn't have enough money to go home that night. And she asked me, don't you want to be happy?
Mm,
Another stripper. And I was like, and even saying it every time, it just gets me, because it's such a simple question. Like,
yeah,
don't you want to be happy? And
yeah,
I just, I didn't know what happiness was my whole life. It was just so much like pain and trauma and wanting to be loved and not understanding why my mom left me, why she didn't love me, why I wasn't good enough, right? We all have that question.
yeah,
Why why am I not good enough? And we all feel that way. And it's just our mind lying to us. So it was just in that moment. And I don't think she even knows like how much
yeah,
she switched in me. That wasn't the end of it, don't get me wrong, but that was the beginning of the end.
yeah,
And
yeah.
from there, we kind of devised a plan to fake my own death that night. And we did. And, you know, my trafficker didn't even care. And I knew he didn't
Wow.
respond at all. And I knew in that moment I was disposable. And it was the one thing that was such a, it was just, it was like such a, like reality shock, because I did everything to be loved. I did everything right. I've made $1 million before and left with nothing because I wanted him to love me so much. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted to love myself.
Totally, totally,
I didn't know
totally.
how to. And so from there, like, that's what led me. A ton of other things happened. But in the end, I ended up on an island in Thailand where I studied Tantra for a year and just healed and got back into my body. and was the most uncomfortable 6 months of my life. And I've been through, I've
Uncomfortable times.
yeah, loaded guns held to my head, and you know, clicked them, and there was bullets in there, but not
Wow.
all that stuff. Been raped, everything I went through 10 years of being trafficked in Vegas, dancing for the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world. And that was it was a hard process, because it's actually harder to heal than it is to stay in the pain sometimes. The
Yeah.
pain is easy because we know it, right? We can expect
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, but it's familiar, I think is what you're
yeah,
saying,
easy
right?
isn't, yeah, easy is probably not the best, but it's familiar, and it's a pattern. And the pattern of trauma was just real for me because it's all I really knew.
Yeah.
And so to go beyond the trauma into like getting in my body, feeling, gaining weight, you know, doing so much energy work that I'm like literally like cystic acne, never had acne my whole life, you know, erupted, and being 10, 15 pounds heavier, and being in a world where I had to be a certain pound every night in the strip club. They almost weighed you, you know, they made you walk by in a bikini. And if you had gained weight or you had cellulite, they sent you home. Like, it was crazy. So all this stuff came up while I'm in Thailand, you know, healing. And it was the most intense time, but also the most beautiful time, because I had to get real with myself. Like, there was just nowhere else to go, like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that moment. So, yeah.
So I want to bring the listener in, because it's rare to find someone so honest as Jannelle. And whereas her life has been around this dance with sexuality and being trafficked and being taken advantage of and trying to give herself to people so that she would be loved. That may not be your reality around sexuality. It may be your reality around something else, but what is it your reality around? Where have you, not Jannelle, where is the listener
Mm,
sold themselves
yeah.
to be loved?
Mm-hmm.
Where have you given up your personal liberties and your freedoms because you want that love from somebody so much?
Yeah.
Is it how you're running your business? Is it how you're treating your clients? Is it how you're treating your husband or your wife? Is it how you're interacting in the world with the people that are around you? Is it how are you showing up, in other words? Because Jannelle's telling a story that has a very poignant and hard reality to look at. But I want you to take her story inside yourself and hear what your story is at the same time. So, what makes you happy now?
Mm. That's a great question. And no one's asked me that one yet. um, you know, happiness for me is like freedom. I would probably say is the number one. And my nonprofit's actually called Beyond Freedom. I didn't mention that in the beginning. I also have a nonprofit that works with holistically rehabilitating victims of human trafficking. So that product to person phase, like, how do you do that? But being like not answering to anyone, kind of having, you know, it's interesting because I grew up very sexually repressed and grew up with this dogma, you know, thrown down my throat in this cult-like environment. And then to go from that directly into the throes of like strip clubs, Lamborghinis in Las Vegas, gambling, winning clients hundreds of thousands of dollars, $30,000 a night suites, you know, that I'm staying in, being taken by the royal family to Dubai, like all this stuff. Like, I went from like that to that. And then I went to a tantra community ashram where I'm like, it's just like I went from God to sex and then sex to God, and like no in between, right?
Yeah.
That's like extreme. Most people don't go to, maybe they don't really go to any of those places once. They maybe flirt with them, but like, so for me, it was just the rigidity of having to do something in the way I grew up. You couldn't, literally couldn't do anything. And then I went into the club where I was like, I could only do things that my pimp allowed me to do, and then only for his profit, right? And then in the spiritual program, it was still a bunch of things that we were supposed to do, but now there was a different meaning attached to it.
Yeah.
So for me, I've kind of like come out of all of that, and I've just created my own meaning and my own freedom, which sometimes doesn't mean meditating for an hour a day. There's days I don't meditate. There's days I just get in my body and move, because I created a form of dance movement therapy, and I just feel connected to the divine, and I don't have to sit and meditate for an hour. I can do that getting in my body. So for me, it's like the freedom to create my life on my rules, and to be able to inspire other men and women to do that too.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I feel like I'm most happy being free, being just free with my son. We do really like kind of crazy methods of parenting, and so a lot of people kind of judge us, but like just being with him and not having to wonder, like, am I okay? You know, like being in that moment, like creating my retreats, like seeing people for the first time. Like, you know, I know Dana was on your call a while back, and having her get so much profound growth from just one exercise around shame.
Yeah.
I facilitate that. And it's not because I'm so great, it's because I'm so great at giving people the space to be authentic and to show up with their shadows and own them. And that to me is like happy. You know, I'm like, yes, I can take something that was so disgusting, like Mary Magdalene of the world, who people write off as lepers, and I can freaking help entrepreneurs around the world like to face those shadows, and to get on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people and tell them, like, this is the same thing as this, like it's all the same.
Yeah.
And that to me is like bliss, you know. And also happiness to me is also being successful in my own means, because I had to be successful in a certain way, which was only with sexuality. Now I've invented that. I'm like, I am going to be, you know, a millionaire in the next year, and I'm going to do it still with sexuality, but in an empowered way. Take that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
Love
like
it.
a game I play with myself, and I love it.
So if no one else existed in the world, would you be happy?
Yeah, you know, that's one of my happiest times, is being alone.
Yeah.
I love being alone so much. It's so weird because I'm an extrovert, but I love being with me. And sometimes so much I'm like, shoot, my son, I gotta go get him. He's in the other room, you know, like I have to facilitate that space for him too. But it's really good because I think I've helped him to create that autonomy.
Of course.
And and he'll tell me sometimes, Mom, I just need my space. I'm like, cool. But for me, to answer your question, I love being just with me. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable being with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
like, did I really do that again after all the work that I've done? Like, am I really still repeating this pattern?
I know for me right now in this point of my life, and I thought that I had it pretty, you know, I'm 65 years old. I thought I've done a lot of work with Tony. I've done a lot of work with a lot of the, you know, top people in the world.
Yeah.
And I sort of had a very comfortable sense of this is where my life is now, and this is what I'm doing. And I'm proud of the person I've become, and I'm happy with this guy. And I've just been doing some work really around the book that I wrote, which is, we had a book club, and it came through the book club, where people just asked me their characters in the book that actually have an impact. And they asked me how those characters were interplaying in my life. And what I realized is the underlying theme of the book is nothing is as it seems. And when I actually wore that nothing is as it seems, I realized a lot of the belief systems that I had built, that I started to believe were realities, that I built villages and towns and countries upon in my own life, those belief systems were now falling apart, and all those systems were crumbling. And what it was like to feel that the foundation of my life had moved from a solid to a water foundation.
Yeah.
And it's exciting and scary and beautiful and amazing and terrifying also. So I have a little bit of a sense of what it's like to sit with self and go through that.
Yes. I mean, I can't even read my own book that I wrote in a day. I wrote the book in a day. It took it a year to get edited because I had to speak it, because I have like issues with focus and typing, and I call it brain stuff from all the trauma. But I can't go back and read it even because it's like, oh man, it's just like, it's not that I'm worried. I'm not worried about people judging me. It's that I have to kind of relive it when I read it, because I'm
So
such.
let's sit there a minute. Are you worried at all about people judging you, or is there still some judgment of self that you find?
There's judgment of self because I'm very judged, but you obviously didn't look me up. I put myself out there like really intensely in the way I choose to market my business and the way I choose to play the Instagram algorithms and like I'm very bold, and even my YouTube channel, like I'm very bold in how I market, and I really attached to, I talk about real sexual issues and I'm very bold in it. And so a lot of people don't like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that I am in the Tony world and there's some very and Tony agreed to do an interview and things with me. And then, like there's been a lot of like things that I've taken on as my own judgment where I finally just stopped reaching out because I thought, oh, his team is judging me. And the thing is, like, I was judging me. And one of Tony's platinum partners, because Tony basically reached out to me one night on social media and was like, I want to help you. I was postpartum PTSD, trying to go to school, trying to raise my son, who was just like a year and a half, no education. Like I was in community college. It was hell. I was on food stamps. I was just like, the only thing I had was Tantra, but I had no idea how to like make money from this, So It was like, it was a bad time. I had people I remember, I'll never forget, a guy on Facebook brought me diapers and food one night. It was bad.
Wow.
And I was just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And so I reached out to him and he responded to me and was like, I want to help you help more women. Because at that time I just had a little club on campus. I didn't have a nonprofit. But he said, first, I want to help you. And the fact that someone so affluent messaged me was like, cared, like he didn't have to care. What is one person like one survivor of human trafficking? How is that going to make his life any different? It's not. And the fact that he cared, it changed the game for me, and was what started me on this course just almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, of taking back my power, creating.
Let me sit with you if I can, because those moments, remember I told you I love transition moments, right? And I think there are a lot of people that are sitting thinking, boy, if someone were to do that for me, that would be so amazing, right? But what actually happened in that? What actually happened? Not what did he do? But what actually happened in you when he believed in you enough to say, I want to be there for you?
Well, I always tell people this because there's thousands of people, hundreds, millions of people that have done his retreats and things. And yeah, he did send me to every event in a matter of 2 years. Business Mastery, Date with Destiny, 6 UPWs. Now we take survivors there, well, before COVID, through Tony's donation. But what I did is I actually did the work. Like I did the work. I showed up. I got real. I told strangers I was being trafficked and I was just coming out and I didn't know what to do. So much so that it influenced one of his platinum partners, and at Business Mastery because I told him my story. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a platinum partner. I just told him. We raised 50 grand for my nonprofit in 3 days because I just said, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm all in. I don't want to live this way anymore. And I did the work. And I also created a pattern, a belief within me that I could do anything, that it was possible for me to move beyond this. And that served me to stay in a place of victimhood.
So is it safe to say you went from I can't do anything to I can do anything to I can't do it, I can't do the work to I am doing the work? Like one of the things that I love about Tony is just how simple he makes things. Right?
It's not like it was like I walked on fire and I was like, I can do anything. I was like, I mean, like whatever. I've made like $50,000 in a month before with my eyes closed, like I've made 30,000 in a night, like not doing something I wanted to do.
Right.
How can I not create that same principle and apply it to business and apply it to that? So it just created something in me, like you said, that there's absolutely I could do. And I did the impossible and I just kept doing it.
Yeah. So again, I want to bring the listener in
Yeah,
because we hear it said, and it's almost like a platitude that we hear say so often, that what we believe, what the world that we believe is the world that we create. But here's a living example of somebody who is doing that right now, and is not a finished product, but is a product in process, and is willing to admit that and beautifully show that when you change the way you perceive the world you see changes,
it's absolutely that.
right?
I didn't see myself as like that. I just thought, wow. And I remember I was even more, I lost some of that rawness, and I want to get it back. Cause after that, I was like, I was on the speech and debate team, and I just thought it was so good. I was giving these speeches about human trafficking all around Southern California, and I was killing it. And I was sending them to Tony. And now I'm like, because I was just like just learning to speak. But
Yeah,
I thought, oh, but I was just like fearless. I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna send this to everyone. And it was like that kind of like energy, even though it was like terrible. Like I can't even watch my old talks. It was like, oh
yeah,
my God, like how is it? But it was just the passion and the level of certainty and the level of like, I'm gonna get your attention. You're gonna listen, and you're hopefully gonna do something. It
yeah,
was so strong in me that I created like literally everything around me.
yeah,
And it wasn't easy, but it was also kind of fun.
yeah,
Like
huge.
even looking back, like I ended up dating, I don't know, did you go to Tony's events? Have you gone to
Yeah,
his live?
I went more a while back. Now I'm haven't been, but I knew a lot of the Platt guys, so
Did you know Joseph McClendon, like on
yeah,
stage?
of course,
So
sure.
I dated him for a year. Like he's my neighbor,
Oh,
but not that close. But so
right.
I met him in the airport at that first event that Tony sent me to. And then that year long with him, even though it was more of a friendship and a mentorship and like a coach, like he was so many things for me. But looking back, like I texted him the other day, I was like, oh my God, he made a list of things that I was supposed to accomplish. And back then was like smaller than where I'm now. I was like, oh my God, like I'm making that amount of money. I'm doing this. Like I didn't realize like the stuff that he was having me do, because he's one of the best in the world at what he does,
Yeah,
was actually working.
yeah.
And then when you look back, you're like, holy crap, like that's incredible. And I just learned so much from even that relationship with him. Like how many people can say, that they had that experience of dating someone like
Yeah,
that literally is just your like living coach.
totally. So what I also want people to listen to is there are moments in time that change our reality. And where all of a sudden you go from a place where you don't feel worthy of anything to the place where you feel invincible, that you can do anything. And those moments are not just moments other people tell stories about. Those moments are yours to have and to experience and to enjoy. And so I want you to just, as you hear Jannelle's story, look at your story and where are you holding yourself back? Where are you saying, I can't do this? Where are you one person, one connection, one piece of a mosaic away from actually making your world an entirely different world?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
What's important to you now?
um for me, it's about creating like a legacy. It's a little both. It's about, and I'll just be honest, it's about proving people wrong a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because people have me boxed in this corner as this Mary Magdalene.
By the way, Mary Magdalene in this world fares pretty well. She may not have been fared well in the days of of her time, but people look up to her pretty well right now.
Right now, but but meaning like the
Biblically, they didn't.
right, like the prostitute that was like not, aside from Dan Brown's work, right? Like she wasn't like looked at in this way. And like I know that's how people see me. And a part of that is how I portray myself. And I don't know if it's like, I remember telling this to Joseph. I said, I like it when people are uncomfortable with my content. And I said something to the effect of, what about me is screams appropriate? Something like that. And I remember he posted back to me, and it was just like a reflection. So I'm curious as how much of that is for marketing, which some of it is, you know, getting people to stop on my feed and see and stuff. But how much of that is because it's almost what I was conditioned to be,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
even though now I don't, there's no shame in it. There's like, there's literally no shame in this game. But I wonder if something in me is still attached to that, like being in this, not being pigeonholed into the norm and being this like something out there that's
Yeah.
inadvertently in people's faces. And that is something I've been struggling with or thinking about, like how much do I
So,
want people to be uncomfortable, or do I want, like, what's important to me, to answer your question, is
yeah.
that I serve clients in the most profound way, like to get out of that shame, but
Love it.
also that I create a legacy. Like
Yeah.
for me, I want to be the first survivor that's featured in Forbes. I want to clear millions. I want to serve my nonprofit serves, you know, I want to do all those things.
Yeah.
And it's a bit masculine, a little bit, you know, but it's almost like because people wrote me off, that now it's like, just watch what I can do. Kind of like that. So,
So, uh, again, thank you for your honesty.
so honest. Like,
But thank you for that. Uh, and I want to ask you, like, really honestly now, how do you feel you're showing up with me? I'm a stranger who doesn't know you at all.
yeah,
And the story that you're telling of who you have to be to show up,
yeah.
I just don't feel that's who you are with me.
I'm not, but because I'm not, I don't need to be like that with you. I mean, I could just be you. This is your platform.
No, but I'm giving you the platform to be anything you want. But isn't it interesting? Like, so what is it about this scenario that allows you to show up as a woman, that allows you to show up with a chip on your shoulder,
Mhm.
that allows you to show up and that's all okay, that allows you to feel loved and accepted just for everything that you are, masculine, feminine, wanting to prove everybody wrong, wanting to prove yourself wrong about what you believed about yourself, wanting to see yourself totally as you are. What allows you in this moment to do that with somebody like me?
Well, there's no pressure, you know. There's just like, with me, it's, you know, I mean, I live in Newport Beach, California. Let's just say it is a very affluent area. There's a lot of pressure on me to create, you know, I don't know why I chose Newport Beach to start my life over after 10 years of being trafficked in the
That's a great
subdivision.
place to live, though.
It's a great place to live, but thinking about the fiscal responsibility was not, I wasn't even thinking about that. So for me, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to create income, you know, because look at where I live. I mean, this is perfect example. My son went to a fluent preschool his whole life, and I was scholarshiped in there and stuff like that. There's a lot of things for single moms here. So although I'm here with all these people, like I'm there on approval, you know, kind of. And well, not kind of, like fully. And so my son would say, Mom, things like, when are you buying us our beach house? I'm like,
Right.
I we are at the freaking beach. Like we are like literally 5 minutes from the beach. This is our beach house, you know, or is it, Mom, when are you buying us our Tesla? Like so and so has one. I'm like, my God, like, does he even understand like the amount that most people could never make it here living here? They just
Yeah.
financially couldn't do it. And I'm doing it on my own. And I'm changing lives of not only people, but survivors, and I'm raising him. It's just like, and he didn't put that pressure on me, right? Like that was me. But I think for me, it's like, I don't know. And it could be some of the stories that, you know, were programmed into me from my pimp. It's like, you have to have the best. You have to be the best. You know, you said something about it earlier, like what people see does, you know, like smoke and mirrors, or you said something to that caveat. That
Nothing is as it seems.
yes. And although I'm not living like that, actually, you know, my car's just regular. I have a nice place. To me, it's more important to have a solid home than like, you know, a Lambo. Although I am going to get a pink Tesla with the orgasmic life tattooed across the back of it. That's on my list board, you know, it's in my mind movie. But I think some of it is more like I grew up dirt poor. I had nothing. We didn't have food sometimes. I was one of the kids on the angel tree. Like, people are giving me toys, you
Yeah.
know? And now it's like, I just didn't want that for my son because I had so much pain attached to growing up that way.
Yeah. You can feel it. Still have. The
And
memory of it brings it back even.
it brings it back. And never having birthdays or Christmases and all that stuff was satanic or whatever. It's like, I don't, like, my son's not like the spoiled kid or anything like that. Like, we get hand-me-downs and all that stuff, but he has a great life. And my
Yeah.
son's from a third world country. His father's West African, you know? So it's like, when I'm pissed, I'm like, I will send you to Africa.
Right.
I'm like, you don't even know. And he understands now. He says, Mom, I want you to have a good childhood like you're giving me. And he gets sad and he cries because he's an empath. But I think for me, it really is about creating a legacy, and I didn't realize it so much. It's about undoing how I grew up and
Yeah.
redoing it for him. And I guess, I mean, I know the most important thing is time and presence with my son, which I give him. But I think it's also about rewriting the story for myself too.
Yeah.
Like, although I had a shitty childhood or didn't really have one, like, the rest of my life is going to be bliss. And that's what I want. And I do work hard to make that. But I want to shift into that place that I told you that platinum partner was telling me. He's like, Jannelle, you have so much potential to, like, make so much money. It's not even funny, like hand over fist. He said the only reason it's not flowing in that way is because you still judge yourself. And you can't influence anyone if you judge yourself, including yourself or your clients. And so this has been my major shift that I'm trying to work through, or that I'm working through. It's like,
Yeah. Huge place.
Until I can let that fully go, like, I'm never going to have the true freedom and bliss that I want. Like, I'm always going to make the money, I'm always going to bring it in, but it's always going to be like that feeling of, am I going to go back to that poverty that I had in my childhood, right? Or am I going to go back to having to, like, sell my body? Am I going to have to do that so my son can, because I had to do things like that when I first got out of the life.
Yeah. So, do you believe in a force bigger than us?
Yes, I can't define it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can. So you're not alone in that. Just a question, and if it's at all confrontational, I so don't mean it that way. I just want you to feel loved in this question. Because when you tell your story, I hear so many sides of your story. One of how much you've grown up in adversity, and how much you've grown up and and were alone and left on your own, and how to do things that were unthinkable for most people. And they also hear a story of how many people have been there in whatever way they've been there to support you and love you and give you love, maybe a exaggerated word, but there've been people there to help you and get you and move you through, and you weren't broken down on a street, being pimped for $5. You were in elite clubs, and you were, and I just want to know, like, what do you think it would take for you to let go of all that right now and just let yourself be this beautiful woman that you are right now?
You mean just, like, let go of
All the stories.
the stories?
The Mosaic showed me a formula. I don't think it's true only to the Mosaic. It's just, that's how I've happened to find it. And the formula was, our thoughts become our words tell our stories, and our stories make up our life.
Mm.
What stories, what words, what thoughts would it take to just let go of, so that you could actually see the story that's being told right now with you sitting here right in front of me right here? Like, what would it take for the chip to come off your shoulder? What would it take for you not to have to be in somebody's face? what would it take for you not to be the mistreated, aligned woman that you were? And what would it take for you to own the space where you are now, this magnificent woman who has faced adversity and has walked through it, who has known adversity and hasn't run away from it, who sits with it as long as it takes to sit with it, or as short as it takes to sit with it, and just love and accept yourself?
I mean, that's a really another great question.
Every once in a while, a blind squirrel catches a nut, you know?
I know. You know, to be honest, I have done a lot of this. I think it's still obviously a work in progress, but I think it's just reframing my questions. Like, I don't know if you did Date with Destiny, but my question
Yeah.
was, how much am I worth to you?
Yeah. Wow.
And it's such a good, like, I'll say it and then there'll be no energy, and then I won't say it for a while and I say it again. It's like,
Yeah.
just well there, like some of that residual. It's like, you know, how do you value me? What am I worth to you? Because that was my whole existence, is like, how much money did I bring home at the end of the night? How many people did I get into the VIP room? The managers would even come over and be like, Gianna, that was my stage name. These people won't spend money, but they're billionaires. Like, and I was like, okay, I could do it. It was like, challenge accepted, done.
Right.
Work 45 days, nonstop, 7 to 7, done, did it. Like, what do I need to do? Like, you know, like it was almost like it was an obsession of like, what do I have to do to be worthy?
Yeah.
Like to someone else, but like, what do I have to do to be worthy to myself?
Yeah. So what if you are worthy without having to do anything, which you know already is true?
Well, yeah.
What would happen if that one change of perspective were to be adopted into your life right now, and you realize, I am so completely worthy. I am so good. I have gone through all that I've gone through, and it has made me, I am so thankful for every moment I went through, because it has made me this person now. And I know I'm asking a lot, because it's easy to sit as an old fat guy sitting here in San Diego saying, you know, yeah, isn't that great? You went through all that stuff, and be thankful for it. And I don't mean to demean any of it. And I hope you don't feel demeaned that I am.
No.
I because I so respect your journey and the life that you've lived, and your thought of, like, even in your example of Mary Magdalene, it doesn't matter that everybody thought of her some way. Jesus thought of her a different way.
Yeah,
The only one that mattered thought of her in the way that mattered.
exactly.
Right? And so you may be that same person. You know, look at all the people that have come to help you.
I know. I always say that. Well, it's interesting, and I use her as a reference because I grew up in the church, and I created a healing modality called Dance Om, but originally it was called Dance of Magdalena, because I felt like I was her. I was like, you know,
Yeah.
Jesus took like this woman who was the most disgusting woman on the planet to these Pharisees and to even his disciples, who are like, what are you doing? Why are you touching her? Like, she's unclean, right? To the closest person to Jesus in the woman form,
Yeah.
female, other than his mother, right? And maybe even so, more so in a different way, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so for me, I do see myself as that, but I think, you know, there is just something in me that is just still me, just trying to prove my value and my worth. And I know what it comes from. I know where it is. Um, and, you know, my new primary question is like, how can I create more abundance in my life while serving others? Like, not like, what is it I'm worth, but I know my value, but like at the same time, it's like, and for me, the path of this spirituality, whatever people want to call it, like, I'm okay with being abundant. You know, I think that that's people attach wrong things to money, but I'm like, man, if I could make so much money, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, pleasuring other men against my will, like I didn't want to, how much more could I do serving people to find their own connection,
Totally.
intimacy, and pleasure, right? And so I think it's just, I don't know exactly what's needed to let that hang up die, but I want to explore.
Yeah. So that would be like, if we were playing together in life, that would be a question that I think would be really important, because if we don't know where we're like, we have a GPS system in our body, right? In our mind, in our head. And when we set the GPS on where we're going, we figure out how to get there. But
Yeah.
but when we don't know where we're really going, or even if it's just 2 millimeters, the thing I love about Tony is it's a 2 millimeter shift you have to make.
And it is that. It is, I do know, I'll take that back. I do know. It's just such a subtle shift from
Yeah.
just showing up as who I am, authentic, not worried if people are going to be like moved by that, or if they're going to like be so like weird about it that they're drawn to me, but just showing up as who I am
Yeah.
in that space of authenticity of who I am. And sometimes that might rub people the wrong way, but that's not my mission in doing it. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
be so overtly like in people's face that they're like, wow, like this, it's just like it's okay, I just get to be me, because I've come through the fire. But not only have I come through the fire, I am not burned, or I've healed from my burns, and I'm still throwing water back to those women that are still in there.
Yeah.
Like I haven't forsaken them, And so I think for me, that's also it. I also feel a pressure like to succeed for these women in the nonprofit. Like I feel like if I make it, like I can give them like the courage, the faith, the belief that they can do it too. Because I'm seriously the 1% of victims that get out. And like it's a smaller percentage of victims that get out and actually live a life that's recognizable as a life worth living, right? Without not being plagued by PTSD and poverty and panic, and end up going back into life or taking their own life because they just can't deal or be in a world that bought and sold them. But I have overcome that. I mean, yes, I still have triggers. Yes, I still have
Yeah.
PTSD attacks and all that. But I found the tools to support myself, to nurture myself, to love myself through those. And I feel like if I show these women that it's possible, that they can do it, they'll do it too. And they're not going to be, tempted to go back, or they're not. And so I don't know. I guess there's a tremendous amount of pressure, again, I said, that I feel
Yeah.
these women.
So, with all love, and again, I hope this is love and you don't take it the wrong way. Okay. When I do this, and for those people who can't see, I'm pinching my hand. And if I squeeze it hard enough, it really hurts.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, boy, this pain just hurts. And I don't know why it hurts. And all I have to do is stop pinching myself. And it hurts still. It still hurts for a couple seconds afterwards. But if I let go of it, it doesn't hurt anymore. What would life be like for you if you removed yourself from the pressure you put yourself under?
Oh my God, so much more beautiful. I would just experience so much more, real intimate moments with my son, with myself, and just with every person that I'm with. It would just be ease, and it would just be bliss, and it wouldn't be like I have to do this, I have to perform, I have to, because like, well, the thing is, there were so many guns held to my head for so
Of
many years.
course. No, I understand.
And my mastermind was telling me this. They're like, Jannelle, I feel like you need that pressure of feeling like I have to make money. Maybe that's it. That could be it. That was just a big aha. There was so much pressure to have to make money, to have to make a quota, that I
Yeah.
still feel that today, even though I am making money. And
Yeah.
there's no quota. The quota is that I live with freedom and bliss and connection, intimacy every single day, and enjoy my son and myself and the people that I have meaningful relationships with, which I don't have a ton. I have a small circle,
Yeah.
but that's enough for me.
Yeah. If you were to have as your primary question, going from your primary question of how much do you value me to a primary question of how can I value the freedom that I have with no pressure on me, just to show up as I am. Because all that pressure is actually shrinking your capacity to show up because you feel the angst of what you have to show up as.
Yeah.
Versus this beautiful, radiant being that just when she doesn't feel that pressure, just shows up so completely that, that there's no constraints on it.
Yeah. No, I was just writing that down because it was like, I wanted to write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's much more, it's just much more liberating. And I didn't realize that that was one of my main values. In fact, when I went to Date with Destiny, I didn't even put that as a value.
Yeah.
Because I attach it to the masculine.
Yeah.
Because the masculine craves freedom more than anything in the world. And I consider myself to be very feminine. I mean, I do embodiment, like I teach embodiment feminine classes. So, but when I've been dissecting it more, and actually went on a date with a guy, and he was like, I always ask my dates, what are your top 3 values? Like on the first date, they're like, geez, I don't know what I'm putting up for you. But like, I want to know before I engage anymore, right? Because we're either going to work or not. And I've realized it's freedom probably more than what I thought.
Yeah. And freedom from that pressure. Like, and the beauty for you in the discussion we're having, I don't know if I'm seeing it correctly. I might not. And if I'm not, throw it in the trash. But the beauty of the pressure that you're under is self-imposed.
Yes.
So you can just stop imposing that upon yourself.
Yeah.
And you can experience the world that you're living, the world that you're waiting to experience comes right behind the release of that self-imposed pressure.
Yeah, I see that now. It's so clear. It's like, stop imposing the pressure and stop judging myself. That's like all I have to do to live a beautiful life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Or positively, just you are such a beautiful person. You're so easy to love. Just start loving.
Mhm.
Instead of telling yourself what you have to stop doing, start doing what you know you were born to love.
Mm-hmm.
It came about in weird ways, but everything that you've done is to show people love in the way they thought it was the way they got it.
I see that. Yeah, I
But
feel
you
that.
were born to give love and to show love, and that's what you do. Take the advantage of loving yourself and doing that now.
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's so good.
If you could speak from this place right now that we're in, because a huge shift just happened for you.
Yeah.
You felt it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
If you could speak, hey, there he is.
We're almost done, Prince.
Hey.
I'm gonna do basketball today.
Oh, cool. Are you good at basketball?
Are you good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Finishing our last question, baby. Love
What
you.
should I have in here?
Nothing from there, baby.
What about this?
No. Just get a granola bar. Let me finish this one last question. Okay. We're going to eat after this.
Yes, totally.
But no, so
If
ask the
you,
question again. I'm sorry.
yes, no worries. If you could come from this space right here that we were in, not this place right here, but the space we were in a couple minutes ago, seconds ago, of that space of just realizing that if I just take away that pressure from myself, and that I don't have to show up, I don't have to perform for anybody, I don't even have to perform for myself. If you could take that away, what is it you would really like to say to a world that's listening to you right now?
Mm. That the magic is really in just the journey of, like you said in the beginning, you asked that question, would you be okay if you were on the earth by yourself, right? like date yourself for a long time. Get to know like every shadow, every archetype, every side of you. Fall or rise madly in love with every part of that person you are. And then from that place, when you've done all that, then show up, then find your lover, then renew that relationship you're in, because that's when you've really embodied who you've shown up in this life as. And until you've done that work, everything else is just a mask, for lack of a better word, with what we're wearing. And I think I've done so much of that, and I still am. And I think if I showed more people that like all of this that is meant to be like shocking, it's not about that, but it's all parts of me. Yeah. And it's like, even that stripper, that's like a part of me, and it's a part of what I teach now. I teach women how to be empowered in that work in a way that's like connected for them.
Yeah.
And even that go-getter, like that's a part of me. It's what made me survive. It's what made me be able to live through 10 years of hell and be able to talk to the most powerful men in the world and get them to open their wallets so that I can live another day, right? Like that's business mastery, right? That's a part of me. I don't have to like let that take over me, but I can let that guide me in the right times.
Yeah.
So all about like basing every part, every shadow, every archetype within you, and learning how to balance those, because you don't just show up one dimensional. You're not like, hi, I'm me, I'm a Virgo. It's like, no, I'm freaking crazy. There's times when I'm like, I don't even know, like, yes, I yell at my son. I'm like, oh my God. And like this Shiva comes out of me and he's like, I don't like that side of you. I'm like, well, this is the masculine side of me and you're going to listen to me, you know? But then there's that side where it's just like him and me. And it's like, there's no one else in the world. I feel his heart. I feel his soul. I feel his life. I see who he's going to be, who he's going to marry. And it's just like, I feel so into that moment that it's like on drugs. Like I feel like I'm high on something. Or those moments when I'm dancing for my class and I feel so connected to this sensual, spiritual, embodied side of me that it's like I leave my body. And I like, in that leaving, I leave a dust of like empowerment where women are like, oh, I can be sexy, it's okay. Yeah. And it's like all of those sides, and even that side of me that grew up repressed, like it gave me a bit of balance so that I don't go too far into the crazy world of like the tantrics where I'm now like, you know, it's like everything I've been through, they're all a part of me and they're all beautiful, because it's my gift to the world to bring love and to bring people into loving themselves fully. And that's what the outstanding orgasmic life is about. It's not even about orgasms. My co-teacher in the retreat said this today. He said, you know, I'm a walking orgasm. I am, like, because I'm embodied and I've connected with all of me. I've gone through the fire, come out. I've decided I like fire. Hey, it's not so bad, right? But at the same time, helping other people to light that fire within them too, so that they're not consumed by it, but they can channel that, and that they can really connect with themselves at a level that you don't see. Because people, we don't connect anymore. We do everything on text, we date by a swipe, we're doing Zoom calls where we're not there. But the greatest form of freedom is really love.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely my calling.
I love that. I love that. I want to thank you so much for showing up here, for being with us. I want to thank those of you who are listening, for listening and for being a part of this, and for playing your role in listening to it as Jannelle tells her story. You experience your story as well, because that's the power of story. The power of story is Jannelle's story ignites your story, and your story ignites someone else's story. And that's what's happened in the Mosaic, the book that I wrote. It's a story that ignites stories. We're going to have all of your information in the show notes. But if someone wants to get in touch with you, if someone wants to work with you, if someone just wants to, God knows, it's the way you working through life. Someone wants to send you money to live, to get things that you need, or to do things that you that you want. How would they get in touch with you? What's the best way to do that?
They can just email me, or you know what? Actually, it's even better if you just find me on like social. So on Facebook, it's Jannelle Gordon, which I know you'll put the spelling in
Yeah,
there.
I'll put all that. So is Facebook the best way to reach you?
Yeah, Facebook is a great way. I love it.
Okay. So, and they'll, all the things will be there. So you'll have
Yeah.
all the ways to get in touch with her if you want.
Yeah.
Thank you again for being here, folks. Thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, share it with other people. That's what we do. When we go to restaurants and we find something we like, we tell people, hey, that you got to go to this restaurant. You got to eat this meal. Do the same thing with people that you meet. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, we live in a world of strangers, and strangers are so easy to become friends. I didn't know Jennelle before we walked in. She's my friend now. And so it doesn't take long. And when we live in a world of friends, the world becomes a friendlier place. When we live in a world of strangers, the world's a strange place. It's so easy to make a strange place friendly. Why not just reach out and take 10 minutes, go up to someone you don't know and ask them how they're doing, and just give them the space to respond. You don't need to fix them, change them, help them, convert them, do anything. You certainly don't need to judge them. You just need to love them and be there available for them to feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated. And amazing things happen. You saw it right here. You see it in every show we do. Something amazing happens in every conversation where people just, and if I can invite you, as I invited Jannelle, to go into those places in yourself that you don't really fully understand yet. You sort of have worked your way through many of them, but they still hold on. And if I can invite you to just love them to death, just love them so much because they've brought you to where you are now. And I'm not saying you would have never gotten to where you are if you didn't go through that. I don't believe that, but this is the way you chose to go through it and to get to where you are now. And so thank them, love them, be honorable to them, and be kind to each other now. Jannelle, before we go, is there one last thing you want to say?
I just appreciate you, having this space to be able to share, and it really, I just agree with you on so many things. As you're loving those parts of you and those, I call them archetypes or shadows that you don't understand, but they are you. And when you can learn to look at them in a different light, maybe it's just curiosity. I don't understand that, but I want to know. It does something to you and makes you more of a complete, connected person. If we had more people like that in the world, we would, like you said, have a friendlier, more connected world. And I'm all for that. So
Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much. Until those of you listening, until the next stranger comes into the room, be kind, love each other, treat each other with respect, be safe, and push your boundaries a little bit. Okay. Until next time, we'll see you later. Ciao.